My name is Yousef Aljamal. I am a Palestinian refugee from Gaza. Recently, I contributed a chapter to Light in Gaza: Writings Born of Fire, which was published by Haymarket in August 2022. The anthology combines stories and chapters and experiences of Palestinian, mostly young writers who envisioned the future of Gaza away from siege, restrictions, and lockdowns. As we know, the Gaza Strip has been under siege for 15 years now, and the situation in Gaza is getting worse every day. But what we live today in Gaza, as I outline in my chapter, is just a continuation of what started in 1948, the concept of ongoing Nakba, which I highlight throughout my chapter. So travel restrictions and difficulty of freedom of movement did not start actually 15 years ago in Gaza. It started in 1948 when my family was displaced and split into two, where half of the family ended up in the Gaza Strip, the other half ended up in the West Bank, and they have always had difficulties connecting with each other. So, ironically, in 1967, they were united under Israel's occupation, and they were able to communicate and connect and visit each other. That's how my father got married to my mother in 1978, and then my mother moved from the West Bank city of Bethlehem to Gaza, where she has been living since then. But then it meant that she had to change her address from Bethlehem to Gaza and get a Gaza ID, which made her a Gaza citizen in Israel's eyes. And this meant that she needed a permit to visit her own family. So it took her 12 years to get a permit. From 2000, the year the second Palestinian Intifada broke out, up until 2012. It took her 12 years of waiting to get a permit to see her own family. Her father passed away in 2003, her mother passed away in 2008, and Israel did not give her a permit to see her own family and even participate in the funeral procession. And when she got the permit in 2012, it was after lobbying and getting human rights organizations to advocate on her behalf, which also involved the Israeli Supreme Court. In 2015, she got another permit because her eldest brother passed away. So there are very exceptional cases, and there are a lot of people who actually do not get these permits in the first place. Hundreds of patients who pass away waiting for these patients for these permits to be issued. Some of them, sometimes when we talk about cancer patients, they get the first permit to have the first chemotherapy session in Jerusalem, but not the second one. And again, my mother got cancer in 2019, and she was given another permit, but only in Jerusalem. She was not able to visit her own family in the West Bank, and she was too worried that if she violates the terms of her stay and permit, she might not be given a second one. So she had to stick to the terms of that permit and stay in Jerusalem. So I document these stories, but also the stories of hundreds of people who lost their lives. So the experience of my mother and other family members, just an example of how we live in Gaza these days and how we wish that these restrictions come to an end. It's multi-generational. It happened to my grandfather, to my mother, to my father, and now it's happening to us, to my generation, my nephews. I haven't seen them in Gaza for 6 years. So we document these stories so that people take action. As I said, there are hundreds of patients who lost their lives, and the humiliation is not just related to students and patients. It's also like people going back home. They would be stopped by Israeli soldiers, like they did to my father in the late 80s, when he was going back from his daily job in Israel, he was asked to dance in front of everyone. And that was the way of Israeli soldiers at the time, to humiliate him in front of everyone. And he had no option. But then he deceived them, and he asked them to clap. They put their guns aside and he disappeared. He ran away. And they kept looking for him. But he was lucky enough that he was able to hide, climb one of the trees at a nearby orange grove. And then all types of rumors broke out in the refugee camp about his fate. And that was, he was shot, he was killed, he was tortured. And then he communicated to his family by making the call for prayer that he was alive and kicking. And then he went back home. So it's multi generational, and we have been dancing under occupation years before, decades before that incident, and up until now. It's not over. The surveillance, the travel restrictions are increasing every day. And as I said, my sister in 2007, Zainab, she was not lucky enough to get a permit, and she lost her life. She kept waiting for like 1 week at the hospital for an Israeli permit to be issued, but unfortunately, she did not get that permit, and she had to wait a few more days for the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt to open. But when she made it out of Gaza, it was too late. The following day, she lost her life. So we document these stories in the chapter and throughout the book to challenge the dehumanization of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. We are not, just statistics. We have stories, families, people trying to connect with each other and live and lead a normal life. Um, we call on people of the world to, but after reading these stories, to take action, especially people in the United States, because the United States gives Israel 3.8 billion dollar annually in military aid, and this money is being used by the Israeli government to impose the siege on Gaza and prevent people like my mother from traveling, or my sister from having a medical attention, or hundreds of students struggling to go out to pursue their education. I know dozens of students who lost their scholarships because of that. So it's a call for action to end this inhumane situation that has been going on since 1948, and we still relive the Nakba today. And lifting these travel restrictions is something doable. My mother was able to see her family, so it's not really challenging. Even these days, Israel is issuing thousands of work permits for Palestinians from Gaza for the first time in 20 years. There is nothing, no talks about security challenges or threats, as the Israeli government always try to portray, the issue as a justification to deny Palestinians permits. So the book is a call for action, and it shows that lifting these restrictions is something doable, um, and easy too. It's not just doable. Students should be able to pursue their education without restrictions. Buffer zones. We do not need buffer zones in Gaza, because Gaza is already very small, and the population has maybe like 8 times doubled since 1948, when the population turned from 100,000 to 300,000 overnight. And now we're talking about 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza are struggling. So this is the book, and we hope by reading it, you will take action and advocate on behalf of the Palestinian people by speaking to your Congress representatives, to make sure that Palestinian families can reconnect, and Palestinian people have their freedom of movement. Thank you.